Welcome back to another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour. I am your host, as always, the Cyber Warrior, and we are back in the studio here at CyberWarriorStudios after an amazing episode we just had at New Jersey Cyber Firesides. So we're here to kick it off. We're here to bring it to you once again on another amazing Friday episode on Freya's Day of Security Happy Hour. So if you stand by for just 10 seconds, we'll be right back. And we're back. And if we listen real close, there it is, the official kickoff, Security Happy Hour for the evening. And with me, my guest at this time, Tim Foote. Tim, how are you doing?
Good, brother. How are you?
You know, I can't complain. It's been a long week. This is episode 2 of the week, so it's a little crazy. All right, I've been running around all week doing a ton of things, doing a bunch of content. So you know,
Excellent.
It is what it is.
I just wish I had a drink to join you.
I'm happy about that because I'm going to get a break on Sunday, maybe, hopefully. No, wait, I'm going to be at Sandcastle,
Perfect.
So probably not. I don't know what's going to go on this weekend, but we'll play it by ear.
Breakfast in bed, maybe.
Yeah, right. I might get that. I might.
Well, we said it live, so we'll see what happens.
So anyways, Tim, it's good to have you here. I mean, we connected a little while back. You showed some interest and said you wanted to jump on, and me and you talked about it a little bit. But like I said, this show is free form. We just have a conversation. And so for me, the biggest thing and one of the biggest questions I always ask is kind of what brought you into cybersecurity in this kind of realm of, influence and racking your brain and burnout.
Yeah, well, that's a lot. Well, again, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate that. So I guess I'm a bit of a natural I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm always learning new stuff. So I've done a good number of things in my, I'll call it a short lifetime. But I'm just naturally inquisitive and everything else. And so I have a really good friend who's in IT and's been, not sure exactly what he does. I know he's really smart and does a lot of stuff in IT. Anyway, so he just actually pre-COVID and all that stuff, he him and I were having conversations, and I was looking for some change. I was doing massage therapy at the time. And I wanted something, maybe a little less physical, in terms of on my body, aging and everything else, thinking, at some point, I need to kind of make maybe a transition. And he brought up, that cybersecurity was kind of an interesting avenue to look at. And I started poking my nose around, started doing a lot of studying. I'd always been into like a bit of IT, kind of like the go-to guy in my small circle, I guess, of friends, family and friends for helping out and that kind of thing and whatever. So I was always interested in it, but never looked at anything specific. And so it intrigued me. Obviously anything with security, it was kind of like, that sounds kind of interesting. Obviously has something to do with, investigating and looking into, whatever. So I said, I'll look into that a little deeper, because it was a relatively new term to me, even though, I knew a lot of the other stuff, but it was kind of like, okay, well, that's an interesting avenue to look at. So I just kind of started digging my nose in, to whatever I could get my hands on in terms of learning, and then basically went and did the CompTIA Security Plus. Basically everything I did was like online courses, just kind of did it on my own time, my own initiative kind of thing. So never too late to learn new stuff. That's kind of my go-to thing, right? So.
Well, and you're not wrong about that. There's a lot of people that are, transitioning into cybersecurity later on in their lives. And that could be for a multitude of reasons. Like you said, once your body starts to go, once, doing anything manual, being on your feet all the time, things of that nature, once it takes hold, it makes it very difficult to do a lot of other things. And being able to still work and provide for your family or your life or yourself or whatever you're doing, and maintain a full-time job. Cybersecurity and IT is a lucrative career. More so cybersecurity, just because a lot of it can be done remote, whereas there are certain IT jobs that still require in-person or in the office type of workflow.
Yeah.
I know help desk, just because of the way things are, and having to go to some physical locations requires some office time on occasion. So being here in cybersecurity is huge. Um, what would you say beyond the lifelong learning? Because let's be honest, that if you're not a lifelong learner, that it's going to be very difficult for you to succeed in cybersecurity. What would you say your um, biggest accomplishment has been so far, trying to, if I'm not mistaken, you're either a SOC analyst now, or you're that's a previous role, or you're kind of in that spirit then?
Yeah, I've kind of done a bit of, the SOC analyst role, and I've done some contract work as well for some local companies, with vulnerability assessments and those kind of things as well. But yeah, I guess it's really making that, just kind of jumping both feet in, to kind of, basically immerse myself in the world of making those connections in the cybersecurity sector, with, whether it being on LinkedIn or through other outlets, right? And doing getting involved in things like the B-Sides conferences and stuff, and things that we have. It's making that, I think, that basically taking that leap of faith, I guess, if you will, to just kind of go all in. And like I said, right now, that's where I am right now, looking at the SOC analyst role, and like I said, mostly doing contract stuff right now, and then hoping to go further with that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of those things, right? So I look at the cybersecurity you can actually accomplish without taking the full head first dive, right? You can still work a full-time job and get into it, but it takes time and it takes longer. Anything in life is going to take work, and it's just a matter of how you want to divvy that work out, and your time, and things of that nature. And so I look at it like business. You can start a business technically while still working a full-time job, but there's going to be things that you miss out on, or things that are going to take more time to do, because you can't go head first in. And I know myself, as someone, with a wife and kids, I can't quit my job to go do something else. Like, I still have to have that income,
Yeah.
because I got bills to pay. Whereas others may have secondary income that allows them to, okay, I can quit my job, go full on into this, because I'm still able to provide. I mean, I may have to limit myself, let's be honest, but I can still provide, and then go from there. So it's always good to see when people are able to do that. I just know that's a struggle for a lot of people, because if you don't have that income coming in, it makes it hard to like focus on what you got going forward.
Yeah.
But we have two questions here. The first one is definitely way off topic, but that's my girl for you. Are you a bass player?
I kind of dabble with bass. I'm actually mostly a singer and guitar player. That's kind of my go-to. If there was a way to make money in this world being a musician, I'd love to do that. But
I mean, you can. It's just
can. It's not as easy as it looks.
There's independent artists out there that do it, and they do it
Yeah.
well. They've become millionaires.
Yeah, it's true.
But we have another question, and this one's from my girl Misha. What was your first certification you earned when you switched careers? And I know you said it a little bit earlier, but
yeah, it was the CompTIA Security Plus. That was the one when I went again. I do a lot of researching, so my research was, for the first, to kind of get in there, get your feet wet. That seemed like a very generally accepted, throughout the industry, as far as an industry standard. That the CompTIA Security Plus seemed to have a good reputation from everything that I'd read and everything. And, it covered a lot of bases for me. Plus, I mean, like all my other, study was like, it's like Professor Messer, and different things like that I'd kind of, again, a bit of a visual learner to a certain degree. So I watched a lot of videos, did a lot of practice labs and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was CompTIA Security Plus was the first one for me.
Yeah, and that was honestly, that was my first cybersecurity certification myself. No, I got mine back in 2008, so it's been a little while, and mine is still lifetime. I have not converted it over to the continuing education, so my shit still works. But I've gotten more since then. But yeah, that was the first cybersecurity one I had with me. Oh, that's right. All right, so, and we're going to move you up top, or else it'll cut you off. it is Misha's 40th birthday today. One of my warriors, one of my family members. I love you, Misha. So here's to you. Happy birthday, Skull, and have an amazing day. I hope you had an amazing day.
I wish I had a drink in front of me. I don't even know what happened. I have Gatorade. Is that'll work? That'll work. Later on, I'll definitely be having a drink. I should have.
But yeah, it's so to everybody here in the chat.
Happy birthday,
Wanawa, Misha, Adrienne. I know Andrea's in here.
Nice.
Jack's here. There's quite a few. William Bailey, Arij. I don't know. That one's on Twitch, man. There's always some weird Twitch names. We got 17 people watching. So as of right now, so beyond that, all the 17. Good to have you all here, James. Thanks for joining. But yeah, so ask your questions also, because
for sure, I'm open to questions.
Into the industry and a SOC analyst probably has some answers for you that may help you out going forward in your career as well. But yeah, otherwise, being in this industry has its challenges. It has its ups and downs, right? It's ebb and flow and of things that are really easy, things that are really hard, and it's different for everybody. What would you say has been the easiest thing for you so far, getting into the industry and the field and things of that nature, especially with your transition from massage therapy into cybersecurity?
I think for me, the one thing I've always found, I guess, is the easy thing is dealing with people, because regardless of whether, you can get crazy technical on the one hand with a lot of the IT space and whatever, but the skills that it takes to actually be able to, get along with people, wherever they're from, whatever avenue of life they're come from. I mean, I've dealt with people from young people to people who are in high levels of government and whatever. So I kind of find that part easy in the sense of like dealing, like talking to new people. Like that's not I mean, again, I've performed in front of, hundreds of people. So it's not like getting in front of people and talking to people and whatever hasn't been, that definitely hasn't been a difficult thing. I mean, I don't mind asking questions. I don't mind asking questions that might sound stupid, because there's no stupid questions. And, really that's what it takes. And that's kind of always where I've been comfortable in that space, poking, prodding, getting to know people, asking people questions, and again, just trying to take back from that what I can to, to apply it to where I need to be. Right.
Yeah, definitely. And, I look at it and a lot of people will say, asking questions, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And it's true. There really isn't, depending on who you talk to. Because, and I don't mean by the person you're asking the question, I mean the person you're asking it to.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people out there that if you ask them certain questions, will look down upon you and say things. So it makes it hard. And I've noticed this through my time in the military, through my time in school, college, you name it. Myself, where people were afraid to ask questions because they didn't want to look stupid. It's because of, there are certain questions that will provide a stigma of, oh, well, they don't know anything. Why are they here? They're idiots. They shouldn't be doing this. Look, I got to be honest.
Sure.
When I was going for my master's degree for cybersecurity, which I never finished, I literally taught the class, the intro to cyber class out at the fire pit. And the questions I heard were things that you would think someone should know. But to me, they weren't stupid questions. It's an intro class. I'm going to answer these. I will help you with what is a firewall. I will help you with what does the detection system do and things of that nature. And it's because maybe you just need to hear it a different way. Maybe someone told you what, HTTPS is, but you didn't understand it from that perspective. You may need a different one. So asking the question again, even after you've been certified in certain areas, is not a bad thing. It's
no,
okay
definitely not.
To ask questions.
For sure.
Now,
absolutely.
Are you looking to stay on the blue team side, or are you looking at the red team? Are you looking at GRC? Kind of what do you see your future path to be?
I like the blue team and I guess, probably initially too, maybe I find the blue team to be a little less intimidating in terms of, I guess if I were to go to like, doing pen testing or something like that on, I would find that to me would require me to maybe have a little bit more time with my technical skills. And so initially I did look at some things, even in the, like the social engineering area, where, like I said, using kind of the soft skills that I already had, that's kind of where, I'd possibly like to end up, if there's a way to find a niche in there where I can, where I can help in that area. Because, I mean, as we all know, there's, whatever happens, whether it's AI or all the crazy stuff that's happening, people will always be, a factor in security. And so for me, being able to deal with people, being comfortable with dealing with people, I definitely like to find, my niche somewhere there within that space. But, for now, definitely with the blue team for now. But
yeah,
we'll love all the others too.
so we got two things here. The first is from my buddy William. I know he goes by the Land Shark on Twitch. I don't know. He's on both. So hey, I love him for it. Be on every platform. I don't care.
Yep.
Are you looking to going into more of a purple team aspect?
I could kind of see that, again, to a certain degree. Like I said, I think there are some areas that I definitely need to work on to kind of make that, transition more towards, purple and, and again, it's like anything, right? If the doors open and if the opportunities present themselves, then, I'm all for, taking opportunities, right? And I don't think personally, I don't think too many things happen by chance. So, I kind of like, if something comes up that, says, hey, I mean, this looks like that would be, where I feel like I'm transitioning to, or where I'm feeling more comfortable to at the time, I would definitely be open to that for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. And I got another comment down here from Jack. Pen testing done right is purple within the reporting, and
True.
that's when you get into it, and that's because you have to have the remediations in there and what you should have seen, or things like that. So
yeah,
my takeaway from that is you should always, if you're blue team or red team, you should always understand the opposite side and even look at a high level or a basic foundational level of what you should see from both aspects.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is you can't know how to break into a system if you don't know the security architecture behind it that's defending the system.
Yep.
So if you've never used the architecture, if you've never bypassed or never implemented an EDR or a SIM tool or something like that, it makes it very difficult. Yep. And then from the opposite spectrum, you can't do blue team if you've never broken into anything and know what logs it'll generate or anything like that. Yep. So it becomes a interesting dynamic if you're not studying both.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm definitely studying all of them, as much as I can from every aspect. But, as far as comfort level where I am right now, just kind of, feeling, more comfortable at this point with, with the blue team. But like I said, certainly open to and very interested and always excited to learn, new stuff. And I'm always trying to challenge myself to, to increase my knowledge, right?
Definitely. And that's something we should always be doing, right? Yep. Never give up. The moment you quit trying to learn is the moment you fall behind.
Definitely.
Really.
Yep.
So we got another question here on Twitch, or Reed XO. I guess that's how you say it. I could be wrong. Thank you all for this space. I have a question about what's responsibility and certificates for a junior SOC engineer. I don't know if those exist, but if they do, I don't know. What do you say?
I would say, I guess, like an entry level engineer. I mean, if you've, I mean, like I said, I started studying things even like, doing the network plus and understanding networks and TCP IP. And but as far as certificates, I don't know if there's one specifically for, but I guess, again, the entry level for me in terms of security was, the CompTIA Security Plus. And there are others out there. I believe ISACA has, I can't remember the name of it now, but I believe they have like an entry level. I don't think it's SOC specific, but again, it's I don't know if there are, like, as far as SOC specific certifications.
No. Well, there is securityblue.team. They
Yeah.
have a blue team level 1, level 2, and level 3. Well, I don't know.
I think
I don't
that's
know.
fairly new. Yeah, fairly new.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, it's fairly new. I don't
Yeah.
know if they've come out with all of them yet, but I do know I was on the advisory board for level 1. I know he was working on level 2 and potentially level 3.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's engineer, but it's blue team,
Yeah.
so it could kind of at least lend to that aspect of things
Yeah.
as far as certifications go. But as far as anything other than that, nothing that an individual can afford comes to mind.
Yeah.
Most of what I know may kind of lend to it would be more SANS, which requires corporate payment unless you just happen to have 15 grand lying around that can send you to a course.
Yeah, exactly.
But as far as responsibility from a junior SOC engineer, that's more my experience as a blue team engineer. And Tim, correct me if you know any different. My experience as a SOC engineer would be able to do the TLC and really maintenance of SIM. You're not necessarily doing the implementation because you're a junior, right? So they don't want you. You're not going to do the hard parts of it, but they'll want you to understand kind of the in and outs and the taking care of it and developing roles and alerts and things of that nature. Would you assume anything different?
That's pretty much where I would be looking at things like that. Like you say, you're as far as in the chain, I guess that's where you would be in terms of that. Yeah, you probably wouldn't be doing a lot of the more, I guess not technically advanced or whatever, but more in that alert level. I guess you're kind of moving up the rank, in terms of who you're reporting to and that kind of thing and whatever. So.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things. The engineer side usually is more technical in the back end side of things.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're looking at the analyst side, that's more log analytics, correlation, like being able to delve into even threat intel a little bit, and threat hunting is more on the analyst side. Engineer side is definitely more software oriented. What are you implementing? How are you fixing it? How are you troubleshooting it? All of these different things. So that's kind of how I look at the differences between the two. Sometimes, though, your engineers make good level 3 or senior analysts, in that usually by the time you become an engineer, because of how in depth you get with the software, you understand more about the threat hunting side, because normally not always, there's ways around it, but a lot of times you'll see people go from analyst to engineer versus straight into engineer.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, a lot of talking going on.
I know. I think we're getting talking about feet now, I think, or something.
Well, because kind of like, I don't know if you saw Mike Miller's post, and there's some other ones here that everybody's laughing about.
Yeah.
A SOC analyst is someone who, investigates SOCs,
analyzes
sure
SOCs
in pairs,
So you have holy socks, maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's interesting. And so going from that, if I'm going to look more into blue team, and let's say you continue your focus on moving up the ranks in the blue team side of things, from analyst to level 2, level 3 analyst, what have you, would you look to consider more about threat hunting and threat intel and the research side of things? Would that intrigue you more? Just given your mindset of where you're at right now, knowing it could change in the future, but if we were to look at it right now, would you consider that more of a pathway of someone in the blue team, really in depth in the weeds of the analyst and research side of things?
Yeah, I could definitely see that, just because I think when you're looking through stuff, as a SOC analyst, you're seeing all this stuff, and you actually kind of want to maybe delve a little deeper into what's actually going on. And so I think that's probably a bit of a natural progression, or at least where your mind wanders, right? When you're looking at this stuff, you're like, okay, where'd that all come from? How'd that originate? What's the, and so it's, looking at logs, is kind of one thing, but then to kind of say, okay, how'd that all happen, and where did it come from, and where are we going, with it, right? And so, I think the whole threat hunting and kind of going through that is probably a bit of a natural progression. I guess if you're inquisitive at all, I mean, you're constantly thinking like, what's going on here? Why are these people doing what they're doing? How do I figure out so that, so I can, recognize it for the next time, or be better able to, to deal with it the next time or whatever. So, definitely a bit of a natural, I think, progression when, when you're looking at that stuff all the time. Right.
Yeah, definitely. I think between that and even Cyber Panda here, incident response. Incident response is another good area to get into, especially if you become very adept at threat hunting and being an analyst, and understanding where attack vectors are coming from, how they are propagating through your network, what logs they're generating, what changes they're making. The IR side of thing becomes very lucrative in just knowledge alone. Not even necessarily money. I mean, granted, yes, the money's there, but just the knowledge of, now you're getting to see more IOCs. You're getting to see what the bigger players are doing when they're breaching networks. So I think IR is another huge blue team perspective that people take for granted and don't really investigate or look to get into all the time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those areas that, like I said, and really it's kind of, it's as broad as it is long, I guess, as they say. Like, when you start looking into, I mean, you can kind of go down that niche, rabbit hole, really, right? Where there, it just gets, there's more and more, like I said, with IR and all that stuff that you're kind of, for me, anyways, that's the way I found it. I found as I started to study and learn more, all of a sudden something comes up. Of course, we know there's all kinds of acronyms. So you hear something and you look at that and you're like, geez, maybe I should like go down that path, and maybe I should look at that. That sounds intriguing. But yeah. Like rabbit hole. Oh, I know. Like it's strong. Yeah, I know. I'm just discovering at this age that it's actually strong in me as well. that you're kind of like, oh my God! Like every time you turn around, there's something else. Yeah, and it is really, and it's probably all in all of cybersecurity. It seems like whether it's blue, red, purple, whatever. There's so many areas that you could basically make a career just out of that. I mean, there's definitely so many areas to kind of branch out into.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think one of the biggest things is, so that people don't feel discouraged. OCD, ADHD, ADD, whatever you want to call it. I swear almost everybody I know in cybersecurity has something of the sort, because like for me, when it comes to reading tech books, I have like 2 or 3 bookshelves full over there, if not more.
Yeah.
And literally, I'll go through, start reading them, and then it's like, oh, this looks. Wait, it doesn't continue further than this. Hold up, new book to buy. Go buy a new book. Start reading that. Find this, a different area, and I'm like, oh, hold up, new book to buy. There's only like one book out of my entire collection of learning books that I have finished. Only one. Like even the SANS books, going through SANS instruction. Yes, I've technically finished them because I had to go through the week of training, but it wasn't like I sat there and read every word for word thing. It was like, all right, let's get through the class. What are you going to teach me today? All right, cool. Let's get to the hands-on stuff. Let's move along. Let's keep going. But when it comes to me buying and self-teaching myself, I do. I see shiny. I hear squirrel, like chirping. I'm out. I'm like,
oh, I know.
Let's go.
How many tabs are open on your browser?
Oh, you don't even want to know. You don't even want to. I even started because Chrome allows you to assign sections to them now. I even have my assignments in there, and I've learned that I can actually just reopen that same window even if I restart my computer. So I'm not as afraid to restart my computer anymore.
I think I closed. I think I shut down 14 windows before I came on this broadcast, and there's still a pile there.
Just go into your history and you can reopen the same window. It works.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh man. But so, you're right. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hold on. We got a good one here. What's the most difficult thing you have come across in your cyber career? Can be anything, and anyone can answer. So me and you will both take a stab at this. I'm going to let you go first.
For sure.
And anyone in chat, please chime in on Misha's question as well. We will throw it up on the screen.
I think, and maybe this, I mean, it's to do with the cyber, with the career, I guess, to a certain degree, because as we know, networking is a huge thing in, especially getting started and that kind of thing. You got to get your name out there. People have to know who you are. You can't just kind of jump on top of people and start asking all kinds of questions. You got to build rapport and everything with people. I've actually found, and maybe this is just my life in general, but putting posts up and trying to get some response out of them, I think has been the most difficult thing I've found to do. And really, the reason you do posts, especially with this, I mean, we're not talking about like doing, Instagram, Facebook posts for, to get pretty and popular. We're talking about you're trying to network, you're trying to connect with people and people who you can glean knowledge from and those kind of things. I've found trying to put up things that's going to get people interested or intrigued, and to give information back, in the sense of things that I would find useful, but I could also be helpful to them as well. And making those kind of connections, like I said, I've found it's not the talking to people. I can talk to people, I can connect with people, I can do that. But I've found with the online things, trying to make those same things I would do with a handshake has been difficult, right? Like that's.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that, because that networking, that rapport that you normally get in person, when you're sitting down and talking to someone, this is why I love conferences. This is why nights and stuff like that are so important to me. And again, I don't go to these things to go to the talks. Yes, I'm sure the talks are great. Sure. My mind just doesn't work that way. I can't sit at a computer and pay attention for 20 minutes, let alone sit uncomfortably in some uncomfortable chairs and try to listen to someone for 20 minutes. Exactly. It just doesn't work for me. It's not who I am. I go to these places to network. Going to New Jersey Cyber Firesides this past week was a great way to network. I met some amazing people. Some of the best people I have met in person in probably years in this industry. I met there, and I meet them at these smaller conferences. I've never been to a huge conference, and I feel like it's a good thing, because I feel like I'd get lost. So that in-person networking is huge. Mm-hmm. Cyber Panda, honestly, burnout and depression, you need to take breaks. If you're a professional and also passionate in private, you get down that rabbit hole very deep. If you're at home, stop doing the cybers, make time for breaks, enjoy family and stuff. And he's not wrong. That is
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
One of the hardest things to do is to separate yourself. For example, when I was in the Army, I was in IT, sort of doing some jobs there. Eventually got into cyber, got all my certifications. As I was getting out, I was always on LinkedIn. I was doing more and more, and I was trying to develop myself outside of the Army, knowing I was getting out, knowing I was getting retired. I still needed to have a career, so I was doing more. I got out, tried starting a business, then I started full-time work, started my channel, doing all this stuff. I was burning the candle at both ends. I did not know how to say no to work. I did not know how to not answer a phone or a notification or an email or chat or anything. And so I was very big on, I always have to be there. I have to be present. Work is important. I got to be at work, got to be at work, got to be at work. And it wasn't until probably about a year or two ago. Actually, no, I think we're about 3 years now. 2 years out of the Army is about what it took for me to finally be like, nope.
Yeah.
Step away. And so when I took time out from work, I took time out from my computer. I literally cut everything off, shut it all down, and was like, I'm done. Yeah. I need my peace. I need my sanity. I need my mental health. And I think that's a big thing that we miss in this industry, is being able to step away. Because when your passion and your career are the same thing, as much as they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Yeah, that's great. As long as you're not doing it after work also.
Yes. Yeah. And that's important. I mean, that's, like I said, I was that way with my other careers and with massage therapy. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, I'm teaching people, right, that, you need to take care of yourself. You need to drink more water. You need to exercise regularly. You need to stretch. You need to do whatever. And here I was, breaking up my own body and, again, having to take those breaks, because it was just like, you got to take that time. And sometimes it's even just the mental getaway where you're just out of the space that you're normally in completely. Like I said, and I told you earlier, I mean, I was a day away for a couple of days with my dad earlier on this week, and it was just a getaway with limited cell phone service, I mean, it was just kind of like, we're in a little cubby, bunky place that, had one electrical outlet and no actual light in the room. It was just lanterns. And I mean, it was great. It was fantastic. You need those times for sure. And I've found that even with studying through this, I mean, I've done a lot of that even since I've turned 40 of, kind of trying to reinvent myself and, just having to take that time away when I'm so driven and so focused to get done what I, either to get that certification or whatever it was, going through massage school and all that. It was like, you still got to take that time away. It's super important for people to remember for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I've noticed that a lot more. And one of the things that I've started, in the past 2 years, 3 years, actually more specifically in the past, I don't know, 8 months, maybe. When did I come out? And I'm going to get dinged for this, but when did I come out with my Walk With Me podcast? It's called. Someone's going to tell me to drink, so I'll figure I might as well get it over with. That's one of the big things I've talked about is your mental health and getting away and being able to really just take a look at yourself, because sometimes, and I had a conversation with someone today who finally hit their wall, they hit their wits end. They're like, I can't afford to do this anymore. I can't. It's just not in me mentally and financially, and just everything finally ran its course. And I was like, look, man, we all have our own journey. We all have our own path. Mm-hmm. We all have all the, you have to do things at your own pace. And if this is not for you, if it's going to take too long for you to get a job in this industry, that you're not willing to deal with it, I'd rather your mental health be okay than you push yourself too far and hit your wit's end and then no longer be able to talk to me.
Yeah, for sure.
As long as we could have these conversations, then fine, step away. You don't need to do this. This doesn't need to be a career for you, because it is a very difficult career right now to get into. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of layoffs. The recession literally hit a ton of companies hard. You're seeing a huge amount of Fortune 500 and 1,000 and all these other organizations laying people off in IT and cybersecurity. It is not easy to break into right now. It requires connections and a network and knowing people. And if you're not in that space and you haven't done that yet, then yes, it's going to take more time.
Mm-hmm. And even doing that, even trying to make those connections, like, and even for myself personally, right? That it's a difficult thing. It's not simple. It's not as simple as it may sometimes be made out to be, and it really is. It's you do have to dig in. You have to get in the trenches. You have to do the work that needs to be done. But, and like I said, it's going to be frustrating at times. But like you said, your mental health is more important. And you do have to take those step back times, right? And just say, okay, this is, what's more important here at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, definitely. And Monawa, she's gonna kill me because I keep changing how I pronounce her name. She's gonna yell at me. I can never do it right all the time. Most difficult thing for her, just remembering I can do this and not get discouraged when I run across something I don't understand. Reminds me of a friend of mine who is currently going through another course that is getting kind of fed up at times. But that's another one. How many times, Tim, have you run across stuff that you don't understand and it kind of makes you want to beat your head against the wall, and sometimes just be like, you know what, I quit?
Pretty much every day. I think that's the thing for somebody who's usually, and like I said, not, I don't know if I'm super fantastic at anything, but usually I've found a lot of things for, whether it's, music or sports or whatever, I'm okay at a lot of them, and they haven't been difficult to do. I mean, I can do, construction work. I mean, I can do, I do, gardening and growing things and all kinds of stuff and whatever, raising kids and the whole bit. And some of those things, as you get doing them, of course, you're kind of like, every now and again, you get difficult things that come up, and you have to, have to deal with it head on. But normally it's kind of like, okay, I can do this. This is not, not that it's not tough. It is, but you're kind of used to those feelings and the way you deal with it. But then in this, again, for me, it is definitely new because I'm coming up against a lot of things that I'm kind of like, geez, I just don't know where to go from here.
Yeah.
And I'm having to reach out. I'm having to ask the difficult questions. I'm having to try and dig deep and find the answers. And, that happens now probably on a daily basis where, and it really takes you out of your comfort zone. It definitely does.
Yeah, and even she says, "I dig and respect your sense of humility," and that's what it takes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's
right. Like,
sure. I'm trying to see some of the stuff that's coming up on the chat and everything, but I'm not getting to see it all.
To put it up if it's pertinent to the conversation or a new question, I throw it up on the screen. So,
but I appreciate everybody's input. Thanks. It's
important. It's hard because when we look at things and we look at the situation, I've burnt myself out. I've been there. I've done videos on it. I've done, I've had Wanawa on here to talk about it. Me and her did an episode a few weeks back, or maybe actually, no, I think that was her first episode. So it's probably about 2 months ago now, when she was first on. We've had these discussions, and it's really difficult because we become so afraid to step away. Because like I said, if you're not learning, then you fall behind. If you're not constantly doing, then you risk falling behind.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality of it is, it's okay. You can get caught back up as long as you get back to learning.
Yeah.
The world is not going to end if you say, you know what? I'm going to shut my computer, my phone, my TV, everything off for a weekend and go out camping and get away from everybody.
Yeah.
The world's not going to end.
Yeah.
You're still going to have your job. You're still going to be able to go back. You're still going to be able to do all things. I got yelled at by, so I am the practice manager for security engineering at my company.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy is for operations. He does, once everything is engineered and installed, he does the managed services side of things. And on Monday, I was on my work computer, just tying up some loose ends, doing some things. And he knew I was on PTO all week. And he legitimately yelled at me to get off of Teams. He was like, stop it. Because he knows I yell at my team for the same thing. When you're on PTO, don't fucking sign in. Don't do it. You're gone. You're out. And I hit him up. I texted him. I was like, homie, I'm going to have like 100 emails on Monday to come back to. If not more. He goes, only 100? I'm like, shut up. That's
life will go on, right? Right. That's the thing. Life always goes on. And it's the same. I beat myself up over that all the time too, where I'm kind of like, I don't feel like, I want to take the time away. It's like I'm going to miss something, but I always look at it kind of similar to, when maybe money's not so great and everything. And you're like, you know what? I need to take my loved one out, my partner, wife, husband, whatever. And it's going to cost $50, but right now that seems tight. But at the end of the day, you know what? Next week, you won't even remember that you spent that $50 or, so it's at the end of the day, you need to do that. You need to take that time. And I mean, I took time away because like I said, I got started in this just as COVID was hitting. I did my CompTIA exam right at the start of COVID, basically. So, and then, just about a year after that, while we were in the middle of everything, I had to take some time away. And you know what? I didn't. Maybe I missed some things during that time, but you get right back on the horse and you go again. Like that's, but you got to realize that, maybe, a few months have gone by, but you haven't really lost. Right. And you just get back up and start again and get back to your research and learning. And
so I'm going to bring up Adrian's comment. American mindset, work yourself into the ground for that American dream. And I know you're not in America, Tim, but I believe it's the same way where you're at, right? It's just keep working. And here's the thing about that is you don't have to do that. Especially not in this industry. Don't get me wrong. If you were paid hourly, and here's the kicker that a lot of people don't realize. If you are not paid hourly, what does working 80 hours a week get you? Burnt out, pissed off, and angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. If you are not running a business, what does 80 hours a week get you? Burnt out, pissed off, and angry. Yep. So unless there is a reason for you to work that extra mile. Now, I'm not talking about you're on call that week. Someone calls you at 10 o'clock at night and says, hey, we have a breach. We need you to help out. No. I'm talking about, hey, your hours are from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever the case may be, and you're still working at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Dude, if you don't have a deadline to meet, if you don't have like a client project that needs turned in that night, hands down, before midnight, it needs done or it needs to be there before start a business the next day. Why put that pressure on yourself? And for PTO, look, I have unlimited PTO, even if I didn't, especially if I didn't actually, let's be honest, especially if I didn't have unlimited PTO. My PTO is my time off. It's paid. I earn that shit. It is paid time off. I'm out, bitches.
Yep.
Take it.
Yeah, for sure.
Why work when you're supposed to have paid time off?
Yeah, I
install the app. Get rid of it.
Yeah, definitely seen it in too many cases. And like I said, and I know people who are in the IT space who, they're on salary and they're putting in all this extra time. That's not, like I said, again, emergency is emergencies, right? Like, so if that's your team, you're working on a project, needs to be done at a certain date, and oops, all of a sudden something, you discover a breach last minute, and all of a sudden you got to go in, take care of things, sure. But on a regular basis, consistently putting in that extra time, that's not necessary only because you feel like that's the only way to accomplish things. Is not healthy. And I think it's definitely an important thing to remember. And that even goes for your study time, even if you're just starting to get in, take your time, take your breaks, take your family time, take your, whatever. You got to do things that you enjoy outside of that. And again, sometimes I just take off, and just, that's it. I'm out. I'm not, I'm not burning myself out for this. Right. So for nothing,
Natalie,
really.
I love what Natalie's thing is, because summer, I like cooler weather. I love hoodie weather, right?
Yeah.
Fall and spring, I'm good to go. But she says, I personally use the winter to delve into work, and then summer is my me time. And that makes sense, because you can do vacations, you can go to the beach, you can do a ton of different things. I don't blame her for that. Do we have... All right, it's
always sweater weather where I am.
Well, this is true. Where you're at, it's always cold. It doesn't change. But I do have another one here, and I want you to touch in on this for a little bit. Where'd it go? Hold on. There we go. I have to set limits for myself, or I will not stop studying. So I'm gonna let you go solo for a little bit. Can I touch on this, because limits are very important.
Yeah, it's definitely you've got to, and lots of times I will write down even blocks of time for myself, right? Where I just know I need those kind of stop times. And whether that was even studying back, when I was studying for massage, or when I was studying for this, for my certifications and things like that. You've just got to set the limits, and really it's just as simple as, saying, okay, I've done, 2 hours of study, or I've done 2 hours working on, on these, log files or whatever. And just having to take the time, to then say, okay, I, put in 2 hours, let's give myself a 15-minute break, or I put in 3 hours, let's take a half hour and take some downtime, and do something you love. Like for me, it'd probably be pick up a guitar, or listen to some music, or do whatever, or have a glass of red wine or something, red wine and chocolate was my go-to when I was studying. But, so, that's, you really got to put the limits, as much as you'd put the limits on yourself for anything else, right? Not to overindulge in things, also don't overindulge in, draining the whatever out of yourself just to get, where the next step is. Again, like I said, if it's not, an emergency, right? If it's not something that has to be done now, set your limits, stick to them, write them down if you have to. I mean, we've got all kinds of programs available to us, all kinds of apps, timers, whatever. Use them, take advantage of them, and, or have a buddy call you, say, hey, let's go for a beer. Let's go do what, and just exactly. If I had something here now, I'd be drinking. But unfortunately not.
I show by now, Tim.
I should have. Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah.
But yeah, you're not wrong, and that's one of those things. Is I've been there. I spent every waking night, and I would go hours and hours on end of when I was in the Army. I would work all day. And then, of course, being an NCO, you're always serving. Somebody can call you at any time of day.
Yep.
So I'd work all day. I'd come home. My computer was in my living room. So my wife would put on TV. We'd watch something. But then I would be on my computer and I would be working on a certification or my degree or something. I was always going, and never stopped. Unless I was grilling and drinking a beer, that was about the only time I stepped away from my computer.
Yep.
So if I was in like when I was in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, I had about 2 hours that I was not working towards bettering myself. I say bettering because really what I was doing was burning myself out. Which is what actually, the sad part about it is that's what pushed me into management, is because I got away from the technical. I can still do the technical. I still do it now in my job. Not as often. Now I'm in charge, but I still step in and take charge and do the hands-on stuff when I need to. It's why my Tech Tuesdays have suffered. It's why certain aspects of who I am have kind of fallen to the wayside, where I do the research and do the tech work when I have to, but that's not what I want to specialize in anymore. It's just not who I am. I am a motivator. I am someone who likes to inspire others, encourage others to keep going. But it's because I burnt myself out. I literally burnt the candle on both ends. And especially when it came to technical, got to the point where I was just like, I'm out, bitches. You have it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And there's never, when it comes to these things, like I said, there's deadlines and everything else. But I mean, there's never an end sometimes to the technical stuff, right? And you can keep going down that that rabbit hole. All that you could do that forever, and try and figure out the ins and outs of everything. But at some point you got to kind of just hands up and just give it up for a bit and take a break and just refresh yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I look at it, and I am someone who I still get intrigued. There are still certain aspects that will grab my attention. Like Kali Purple came out, and it grabbed my attention. I did a video on it, maybe two, but I haven't gone any further than that because I just don't have it in me to keep digging into it. I'm like, that's a lot of stuff that I'm just like, do I really want to do a video on this? Am I really going to give a different perspective than somebody else? Because I'm just going to do an overview of the shit. I'm not going to show you the tools. I'm not going to dig into the tools. I'm going to explain what they are and go about my way. Like, am I really doing anything different?
That's what I've been trying to just limit myself to the things that are pertinent to what I'm doing right now. And it's a difficult thing to do because, again, squirrel. Right. And you're like, okay, something else over there. Oh, there's something else, but that's, we definitely tend to do that, but you kind of got to limit yourself, to things that are really in front of you and what's going to help you accomplish, the immediate, goal. Right.
Yeah. And for me, it's always, especially right now, moving up in my career, it's helping others in any way I can. That is legitimately all I really concentrate on and try to do, and that is where my whole channel and where everything is kind of gone and taken off from is just that motivation and that inspiration type of aspect.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm not in cybersecurity. It doesn't mean CyberWarriorStudios doesn't mean cyber. What it means is there is more than one aspect to cyber than just hands on keyboard. There is more than one aspect to what we do than just breaking into shit or this at the third. There's mental health. There's staying inspired. There's so much more to our careers and our persons than just one thing. And for me, it's explaining that and taking it from there. It just takes a hell of a lot more.
For sure.
What you were saying makes me feel so much better about myself in my future. I got as far as you got, and I was very sick. Look, Mwanawa, she's gonna kill me.
I'm not even gonna attempt.
She's gonna kill me. She was on. I had it perfect when she was on just like 2 weeks ago or last week, whatever it was. She's gonna kill me. But yeah, uh, she said, "Damn it." I
You
love
want
her.
me to attempt it?
But no, I do. I think Collie Purple has a lot of good features about it. I'm still a huge fan of ParrotSec. That's
Yeah.
just me. It has the anon mode. It was built on security. It was built for security. It was built with security in
Mhm.
mind. So it allows you to go anonymous. It filters everything through Tor. No, that's not guaranteed anonymity, but it's just one of those things that I prefer ParrotSec. I
Yeah.
try out these other versions just to show them to people,
Okay.
but me, I'll be Parrot Security hands down all the time. But
Yeah.
Tim, she
Perfect.
did say moi now wa. Oh no, moi now
Moi
wa.
now ah. Moi now ah.
Monawa. Monawa.
Ah.
Okay.
Moi now
We
ah.
got
There
it.
we go.
Monawa.
Perfect. Got it. That's
Oh
great.
man. I am weird. Don't judge me.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Weird's the way to go, I heard. But
Hey, you know what? I love being weird. My wife married me because I'm weird. So,
yeah, I know that's probably how I've got most what I have in life now is being weird.
right? My wife calls me weird all the time or crazy, and I'm like, you
Yeah,
married me. What's that make you?
I
A
know.
little bit worse, huh? And
Lover
then
of the
it just
weird.
goes into a circle. It literally is just
Yeah,
it keeps continuing. I'm like, you know
yeah.
what? This can be an endless loop. I'm out.
I know. My wife's the total opposite of me. She's like, very quiet, very, just very sweet and very, and I'm like, I'm just allowed. I'm out there, always doing crazy stuff. Trying to figure out crazy stuff, and that's what a lot of this is, right? You just kind of trying to figure out some of the crazy of the crazy, right? So
Well, and I think with cybersecurity, when you're looking at SOC analysts transitioning careers, whatever you're trying to do, it's crazy. It's batshit crazy
yeah,
because you're looking at people that are in their mid 30s, late 30s, 40s, 50s, sometimes in their 60s. Like what, I got to get a new career.
yeah,
Shit, cybersecurity, let's go. And it's like a lot of them will really drop everything
hmm,
and just go full bore into it. And I commend them. I
yeah,
commend them 100%. I'm like, yo, let's go. If you got the gall to do that shit, let's
yeah,
talk.
for sure. Yeah,
Let's go at it because it means you have more passion and more drive than some of these teenagers coming out of college or high
hmm,
school or something like that because you're going to go full bore into it and
yeah,
it's going to mean something to you. Now, the caveat to that is if you're doing it because you don't get paid enough, that's
yeah.
when I have an issue.
Yeah, no, it can't be, it can't be just about the dollar, right? Like, I mean, that's for me, like I said, a lot of it was just, it was, yeah, it was the transition, needing the transition from, very physical. And plus, I mean, I'd done a lot of, physical jobs. I mean, I've done so much, I can't even begin to spout off the things that I've done. But, at this stage in life, it was kind of like, yeah, my kids are older. I probably want to do, a little bit of travel over time as well. My wife and I like to, see new places and do new things. And we also, would like to have a little bit of freedom. So, and, there's also that comes with it sometimes as far as mobility and whatever. But I mean, but you can't take away from the fact that it's hard work. It's a lot of learning, and, but it doesn't involve me beating the crap out of my body, you
Right.
know. So my mind, that was gone a long time ago. So
Wait, we're supposed to be
just,
supposed to have like sanity at this age?
no way,
Yeah,
no,
I'm out.
that's gone completely. So I don't think there's anybody who knows me who would say there's any sanity.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, and it's funny too because Amanda just said, and this is Amanda. I'm just excited. My favorite hobby is actually a career.
Yeah,
And this comes down to and so me and her good friends. She's one of my sisters. She's a warrior. She's family. She means a lot to me. Um, you know, I'm the one that talked her into going into cybersecurity. She told me what she did, what she likes doing, kind of where her niche is, and
yeah,
it's like, all right, cool. Let's get these basic foundations under you, and then we're gonna find you a career and a job because it fits what you're doing. We just got to find the right terminology to mesh with the career field.
yeah,
But she does a hell of a lot more than I do. Hell, she's a lot better at what she does than what you know, than I can do. So I don't even try to compare myself to her because she'll put me to shame if I start digging into it.
Well, I think that's the thing with, again, people who have life experience with other things too, right? Is that you've got a lot of the soft skills that you need, and depending on where you go, even in cybersecurity, there, whatever niche you go into, I mean, sometimes the tech skills are super heavy, sometimes they're not quite so heavy, so you can kind of pick and choose your path when it comes to that, right?
Oh, for sure, and that's the thing, right? In this industry, and we're gonna wrap it up and get your last
Perfect.
words here in a little bit,
Yeah.
but in this industry, you have two sets of people. You have the very technical that have no soft skills, which means they can do all the fucking work, but they can't talk to any of the clients or any of the executives.
Mm-hmm.
They're good people. They know their shit. They'll know more than I ever know. Go for it, homie. I will sick you on whatever technology you want. Go for it.
Yeah.
Then you have the ones that have a lot of soft skills. Well, I mean, there's an intermediary also, but really what we see a lot of is you have the ones that have all the soft skills. They can do the reports. They can talk to the executives. They can interact with clients. They can do all this other stuff. And they can talk the talk. They can't necessarily put their hands on the tech, but they know what they're talking about. They can sell it. They can consult on it. They can do so many other things. Yep. But to actually get in there and do the work is a whole different story. Finding someone that can do both is few and far between. Yeah. It's not impossible. It's just few and far between. Because a lot of your techies are extreme introverts that don't want to talk to fucking anybody.
Yeah.
Keep to themselves. They want to stay to themselves. Leave them the fuck alone. Give them a dark hole to go into, and they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Your socialites, your consultants, your people that can talk to others but not necessarily do the tech work anymore, they're more extroverted. That's what they do is interact with others on a daily basis. They have this charisma about them to be able to do these things, but they can't necessarily put their hands on the tech anymore. Regardless of whatever the reason it is. They either grew out of it or something happened. Then you have your middle people that somehow can manage to do both. They're an oddity, but they exist.
I'm hoping I can get there. Somewhere in between.
Oddity, but they exist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But look, before we go, it is over the top of the hour. I want to get your final words. Any advice, any words of wisdom, anything you can give to all those that are watching or going to be watching here. What advice can you give them to entering cybersecurity, getting into cybersecurity, being in cybersecurity, whatever you got? Yeah. Let's give some words of advice.
I think, really, it has to be a little bit of a long game. And, you just look, do some research on even a niche that you're looking for in particular, whether it be blue team, red team, purple team, or whatever. And, look, I mean, there's all kinds of lists that I found online for, what are the requirements to be a SOC analyst, or what are required to be, to be a pen tester or whatever. Take those things and then kind of work yourself backward and, find the people, the tools that are going to help you, and reach out to people like, Cyber Warrior is a great place. It's been great support. Lots of other people on LinkedIn. If you start to reach out and build that rapport and build those relationships with people, they'll find the stuff you need. You don't have to be at it alone. Just because all of a sudden you saw something new that you wanted to get into with, cybersecurity sounds exciting and interesting, but there's lots of people out here that are willing to help out. And actually, I got to be honest, in all the things I've done in my life, it's been a good few years in the workforce. It's one of the places that I've found the most supportive people and helpful people. So that's probably the biggest advice. Just reach out to, start to build a rapport with people. Don't just kind of go full bore, yelling at people as, well, help me kind of thing. Just start to build that rapport with people. And people I've really found, there have been very few people that were not willing to stop for a moment what they were doing and take the time to help you out. And I think that's probably the most important advice I can give.
Yeah, definitely. I can't disagree with that, because at the end of the day, networking is so huge in our community. It's how I've gotten jobs. It is how I've helped others get jobs. It is really, really big on what we do. And again, you hit the nail on the head. Don't just go out there full bore of, I need a job, I need this advice, I need da-da-da-da, or I applied a million times, why didn't you hire me? Or why didn't you get an interview? It's literally go in there and develop this relationship, this friendship, or acquaintance, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Go in there and develop a personality. Let them get to know who you are and what you're about, and that'll take you a hell of a lot further. And so I think that's huge and something we're missing. I don't know how many sales emails or LinkedIn messages I get of, hey, I saw you. I thought you'd be a great connection. Oh, hey, by the way, I sell all this shit. Okay, good for you. I don't care, homie. Be gone,
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the things that I look at. You want to tell me something? Let's meet at a conference. We'll talk about my, who I am, who I work for, kind of my brand, what I do. You tell me about you, and we'll have that conversation. But if I'm not at a conference and you're just cold, like messaging me or sending me shit, I don't want to care about it. I'm done. I'm out. Deuces. See you later.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, I wouldn't respond to anything that I wouldn't do myself. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Yeah. So, but anyways, hey, look, it's been great talking to you,
Perfect.
Tim. Feel free to hang out in the back for a minute.
Yep.
But otherwise, look, everybody in the chat, make sure like, comment, subscribe. And if you are in the chat, please come back after I end this and leave a comment because it really helps, and also share the episode.
Perfect.
Otherwise, look, I love you all.
Thank you.
Take care. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. And I'll see you next week with another amazing episode of Security Happy Hour.
Thanks so much.